Shucks. I think the 10-second countdown is almost here. All right, cool. What's going on, y'all? It is AVIOT Sunday Brew. I am Jay Stokes, your gracious host. I am recording in a different location. I tell you, my wife and her cousin are being kind of loud today, so I had to go into her closet in order to record. I apologize for the lighting, and hopefully everything goes well. I'm also experimenting with this new microphone. On the last time I did the live show, it went pretty well with the microphone, so I'm just doing it once again. So there's that. For today's episode, we have some topics that I want to discuss, a lot of politically leaning topics. So if you're in the comment section and you happen to pop up while I'm talking, let's be respectful and let's have a good conversation, a good dialogue. So I want to start right now by speaking on the current president of the United States. He signed an executive order recently to change the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And this is being met with mixed emotions. I took some notes on this situation right here just to read some things. So the current defense secretary, he's going to become the defense of war. He's gone on record saying the change represents a new focus on maximum lethality, not tepid legality. To me, changing this name to the Department of War, it is very attack focused and it is very aggressive. I do not believe that changing the name of the Department of the Defense to the Department of War is worthwhile, is helpful. I don't believe that it's going to be good in the long run. America, the United States, we should be focused on strengthening defense against any attacks that come our way. Trying to go forth and be like, yeah, we're warriors. We're all for finishing wars. We're all for attacking. I just believe that sends the wrong message. You are not weak learning how to defend yourself, right? People who take self defense classes, they do it so that if a threat comes their way, they're able to handle it. They're not weak, they are strong individuals. So then when you come to the United States, it's the same thing. People aren't on the attack. And when you're on the attack all the times, a lot of times you never know peace. And also you can get into trouble that way. People who are boxers who have hit their significant others, who are MMA fighters who have been engaged in intimate partner violence, they have to suffer the consequences of those actions. Floyd Mayweather, I believe he's been on record as doing something like that. And you have other stories of other fighters who have hurt their spouses, hurt their significant others, what have you. It is not cool. Another thing that's been said, the former defense secretary, Leon Panetta, he said, a name change has nothing to do with the strength of the US military. I believe so too. Changing the name to the Department of War, that's not going to make the US military more tough or or weaker. No, it's not going to make the US military more tough. In fact, some might argue it would make them look weaker because it's like, oh, you need to puff your chest out and make like you're such big warriors. Do you have an insecurity present? So I don't think that doing this is a good idea. Other people have mentioned that there might be a lot of costs involved because you have to change the names of buildings. You have to change the names of, if you have that name on envelopes, if you have that name on stationery, what have you have to pay money in order to change all of that into the Department of War as opposed to the Department of the Defense. Now, despite this executive order, the US president will still need Congress to officially rename the Department of Defense to this new moniker. So, though he signed this executive order and he has people that are on board with it, it hasn't been approved yet. So, we don't know necessarily that it's going to go through just yet. We have to see. I just don't think this is a good idea, not at all. Speaking of which, the US president actually shared on social media a post saying that Chicago will find out why the Department of Defense is being changed to the Department of War. Basically, he wants to crack down on immigration in Chicago. And they want to conduct a major immigration enforcement operation in this city. That's what the current presidential administration and his supporters want to do. A lot of people have argued that saying Chicago will learn why the Department of Defense is now going to be called the Department of War. That's like waging war on an American city. Why would you? It's like it's a threat. Why would you speak to a city in America that way? If you want to crack down on immigration, that's one thing. But saying these people are going to know what it feels like for war, these people are going to know what it feels like to experience the might of the U.S. military. That's uncalled for. It's not cool at all. In fact, the city of Chicago, they are being looked at as another city in which this current presidential administration and the president and his supporters want to focus on when it comes to combating crime. I understand combating crime. I just think that the way that's being done, the way that the president is going about things is not helpful, and it's actually going to cause more harm than good. In fact, you saw a protest that happened in DC yesterday. So you had a lot of people that gathered in DC. They marched to the White House and they were protesting the federal takedown or the federal crackdown on crime in DC. So you had the president was paying for the National Guard, troops from the National Guard to be deployed to certain areas of DC. There were also there's also a greater police presence in different parts of DC. This comes as DC is experiencing historic lows in terms of crime. So though the president said DC is an area we need to focus on and we need to crack down on crime there, they're experiencing the lowest amount of crime that they've had in I believe 30 years. So I'm looking online and I was looking at a CNN article and it said DC's violent crime rate has plummeted in the last decade and reached its lowest since 1966 and 2004. I mean 2024. So DC is experiencing historic lows. There's no crime that needs to be focused on here. There's no crackdown that needs to happen. Obviously, yes, you want to make sure that we're preventing violent crime. We want to make sure that people are safe. It's just the fear mongering. It's not going to help. You have people out there that were very afraid, and I actually wrote an article touching on this. You have people in DC that are afraid that these crackdowns on violent crime is going to come at the expense of Black communities, Black individuals. I've seen on video, you had police harassing young Black boys or Black youth, and it was uncalled for. I remember on a past live stream, I spoke about a activist in the DC, the DMV area, who was arrested unlawfully because she was trying to stand up for youth that were being accosted by police officers. When it comes to crime and making it seem as though we have all these violent criminals within the US. Yes, you have violent crime that happens. Just the way to go about it instead of causing fear. Because remember, when you have police officers, law enforcement coming into these different areas where crime happens, they're human too. So they might come with preconceived notions. And we know how society loves to look at Black individuals, Latino individuals, anyone who's not white as a criminal, as threatening. So what happens is these police officers go into these areas, and it doesn't matter if these police officers are Black or white, just police officers in general. And they go into these areas, they look at these individuals and they say, oh, this is the area with the violent crime. And even if an individual is doing something as harmless as just walking up the street in a hoodie, they might get targeted by law enforcement. What are you doing? Because they might think that person with the hoodie, oh, they're about to sell drugs or they're about to rob somebody. And then you end up in a situation that is harmful. And now the community doesn't respect or look to law enforcement as helpers. They don't respect law enforcement. They're fearful of law enforcement, and you have this strain present. There are better ways to handle crime than fear mongering and having these federal takedowns of areas that are experiencing lows in terms of crime. So there's that. It's a whole bunch of nonsense, in my opinion. Speaking of this current administration, let's go to someone who kind of has been, I guess, people have been looking at them as a supporter of this current administration, especially given their American Eagles jeans ad, and that is Sydney Sweeney. So if you don't know, Sydney Sweeney is an actress. She's known, I think, primarily for her roles played in Euphoria. So she was featured in an American Eagle ad, and they were saying she has good genes. And they were making some implications there because she is a white woman, blonde haired, thinner, that she has good genes. And it's kind of like a eugenic situation where a lot of in the past, you had a lot of white individuals feeling that the white race was superior, that they had superior genetics to any other group of people. And it seemed like Sydney Sweeney was playing into that. She's recently been talked about because she's acting in a movie called Christie. I believe it's based on, if my I have my notes up here, so let me look. Christie is speaking on, it's like a biopic speaking on this boxer by the name of Christy Martin. And so people are saying that Sydney Sweeney is going to be in consideration for an Oscar, or she's going to be in that Oscar buzz category because she did a phenomenal job at this role. I've seen some mixed reviews about it. I've heard on threads, a woman that I follow on there, she said that though people may have a feeling about Sydney Sweeney as a person, they may not care for her politics or political stance, what she represents. She did do a good job at that role. I don't really have any interest in watching it because my thing is, if you are not a if you are an individual who is problematic, I have a hard time supporting you. I have a hard time consuming any content that you're putting out there, consuming your art. So with Sydney Sweeney, and obviously everybody is flawed, right? I just think that there's levels to it. If Sydney Sweeney is doing an American Eagle ad and it's promoting the white race as superior, then to me, that is problematic. And I'm not supporting your work. I don't care. That's not cool. Whereas other people like Robert Downey Jr., he's been he dealt with substance use when he was younger. That's a different ball game. I can't get down on him for that. He's repaired himself, and also that's a personal struggle, right? There's levels to this. If someone is beating up on women or beating up on men and involved in intimate partner violence, they're non-remorseful for it, and they continue to be involved in stuff like that. I can't support them. Case in point, like a Chris Brown. Chris Brown, you see people, they're always lined up to go to his concerts. And that's something I really take issue with. Chris Brown, unfortunately, he's a problematic individual. He's been involved in different cases where he's assaulted people. People have accused him of much worse. He has expressed anti Black rhetoric, yet he still has a large fan base. They look to him as a sex symbol. Here we go. Our first troll. Wyclef, go away. Yo, I keep telling you, just because you have locks doesn't mean, we all look alike. I look nothing like Wyclef. Anyways, because Chris Brown's a sex symbol, because he makes music that people feel is palatable, he continues to have fans. He continues to have people that support him. And it's very ironic to me that at a time where we're saying toxic masculinity is bad, Chris Brown's a multi-millionaire, so he's good. Yeah, and that's the case. It's like we as a society excuse bad behavior just so long as the individual looks good, or if they are talented in an area, or if they have money. The current president of the United States, so many lawsuits against him. He's been he's been implicated in so many different crimes, yet he's the president. Chris Brown, he has a horrible track record, yet people still love him, people still support his music. Sydney Sweeney, she's over here supporting this idea that white genetics are better. She's getting considered for an Oscar in an acting role that she did, right? A lot of times in this society, in the world really, negative behavior gets rewarded. Negative individuals, people who are engaged in problematic activity, they get rewarded. I say all that to say, I'm not supporting Sydney Sweeney in this new movie she's in. All right. Okay, another troll. I'm not answering that piece. The thing is, I wish that in the comment section when people are commenting on these videos that we can have a dialogue based off what I'm talking about. I know when I used to do the Sunday brews later on in the evening, I used to have a lot of good dialogue. It's like a hit or a miss because I guess how I'm recording right here in this view and the time of day, maybe certain people are available, but it is what it is. In the future, maybe we'll have more people that are willing to engage in a positive way, not troll, and we can have a productive conversation. But yeah, so I'm not supporting Sydney Sweeney when it comes to that boxing movie. Speaking of sports, I wanted to go to the WNBA. There's been a lot of news surrounding Miss Angel Reese and comments that she made regarding the Chicago Sky organization. Angel Reese is a WNBA player, very good basketball player, has set WNBA records, and she had criticisms of the Chicago Sky organization. And this was based around how she feels like the organization's run. Her comments were featured in a Chicago Tribune interview, a Chicago Tribune article. And there's been a lot of dialogue because she did name some players in there. In my opinion, she didn't name her teammates in a bad way. I do believe that the timing of this article coming out was bad, and I do believe that in the future she probably should not name players unless it is 100% positive. Not to say that in this case it wasn't positive. She named the leading point guard for the team who was out with an ACL injury, Courtney Vandersloot, just saying that the team can't depend on her largely because of her age coming back from injury. I believe that is a reasonable take. However, Courtney Vandersloot, I believe, took this personally because in a recent interview that she did, it's like she threw shade at Angel Reese saying, despite my age, I will be back from this ACL injury and I will be back to play for the Chicago Sky next season. She also named her other teammates, Haley Van Lith and Rachel Bannum, saying that they can't really rely on them to take on the point guard role, or at least this was said in the article. I don't know how Angel Reese conveyed this message. And Haley Van Lith and Rachel Bannum are not point guards. That's not their natural role. So it is what it is there. Angel Reese has recently, it's been revealed that she's been suspended by the Chicago Sky for the first half of today's game versus the Las Vegas Aces. And I think that's very petty. I I felt she made valid criticisms of the Chicago Sky organization. And I believe that putting out a statement saying you're suspending her for the first half of today's game versus the Las Vegas Aces, that is a humiliation. That's a form of humiliation. Y'all should have handled it internally. Y'all know that Angel Reese gets hate on a daily basis because of who she is and how she conducts herself. And it's not in a bad way. Her just existing as a black woman, an unapologetic black woman, a lot of people have issues with that. And so that's why she gets a lot of hate, a lot of vitriol thrown her way. I hate the fact that with this statement that the Chicago Sky put out that she's being suspended for half the game today, which makes no sense. Why not just suspend her for the whole game? I feel like that's going to add more fuel to the fire. A lot of people that already don't like Angel Reese and are criticizing her, overly criticizing her, unfairly criticizing her, they're going to have more of a reason to do that now because they're like, see, even the organization, the team that she plays for, they don't like her. They're criticizing her. And I feel like it's just going to just snowball into a worse situation. What I will say is, I think this is the last we're going to see of Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky uniform. They publicly tried to humiliate her, and Angel has done nothing but be a good teammate with the Chicago Sky. She has tried to promote them in a positive light. She's tried to recruit other players to play on that team, even though the organization is trash. I believe there was some poll in which it was voted the worst organization in the WNBA, but still, she has tried to advocate for her team. Angel's not going to be with the Chicago Sky next season. I don't think so. I'd be very surprised if she is. So it's really unfortunate that this situation has happened. I think that how the Chicago Sky has moved, it has made irreparable damage. I don't believe that you can repair the damage that they've done. And Angel's going to thrive. Angel is a cultural icon. Angel Reese has brand deals elsewhere. She'll be fine. I'll tell you one thing though, when it's all said and done and a documentary is made about her career or she has a biopic, oh, that joint's going to be fire. I know it will. So thank y'all for tuning in today for AVIOT Sunday Brew. I will say that I always end the episodes by talking about what's brewing for the week. I will say that this episode right here, though I had topic, I wrote a whole bunch. I believe that they just kind of went by pretty quick. Didn't have people in the comment section to really have dialogue. But let me plug too. I wrote an article on medium.com, which I asked for you all to support me on medium.com. You can find me under J Stokes at medium.com. I'll if you actually look, I think I have the medium.com link here on this YouTube channel. I have it someplace, but I need to start promoting my articles more. But I wrote an article recently talking about the black on black crime narrative, this narrative that black people are just inherently violent, and this whole thing of, oh, well, black people stop harming other black people. I wrote an article combating that because it's a myth. There is no such thing as black on black crime. Crime just exists. White people commit crime against other white people. Latinos do the same. Asians do the same. Indians do the same. It doesn't matter. It all has to do with proximity, where you live, and also how much money the community has as a collective. So I wrote an article on that, and I'll just transition to what's brewing for me this week. I'm going to be writing another article. I'm not going to tell you the topic, but my goal is to try and release articles every Friday on medium.com. I'm going to find a better way to promote these articles because I really want to get back into this educational aspect of the chemistry production platform. AVI is the official podcast of Chemistry Productions. We just do a live every Sunday for the AVI podcast in order to interact with people out there. So I'll be working on another article. I'm also working on long form videos to post on the Chemistry Productions platform. And that's that. It's more the same old, same old. Outside of that, I'll be posting reels on social media pages. Make sure to follow Chemistry Productions and interact with our content on TikTok, Instagram. We're on Pinterest. We're on Lemonade. We're on Tumblr. We're everywhere, right? At least I try to help the platform be everywhere. So that's that. Thank you all for watching, whoever watched this live stream right here. If you see the playback, make sure to support it and let me know what you think. All right. Till next time.